Hi, I'm Erin Marcus, former corporate executive turned entrepreneur and founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business. Welcome to the Ready Yet podcast. We're excited to bring you more than 100 episodes of interviews and insights designed to help entrepreneurs get the financial and emotional freedom they need in order to build a business and a life they're proud of. All right. Welcome to this episode of the Ready Yet podcast. My guest today is Stefan Zavalin. Did I do it right?
Yep.
All right. We got it right. I always like saying people's names right. I'm excited because when I joined you on your show, we had quite the adventure in a way that I wasn't used to. And so I hope I did a reasonable enough job, but I enjoyed it. I really enjoy your perspective on things. And I think there needs to be a lot more different perspectives on things out in the business world. So I can't wait to have this conversation with you that we've been chatting about. But before we get into the nuts and bolts, why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do and all the cool things?
Sure. So the company is called the Professional Unicorn, which talk about a different perspective. Which, before I get into what we do, let's get real and human for a second. The title, because everybody always goes, why is it the Professional Unicorn? Who gave you that name? It came out of insecurity. So they talk about being vulnerable at the very beginning of a show. When I was starting it, I knew unicorn was going to be in some way, shape, or form in the title because I've been called a unicorn for a variety of reasons in my life. Of just seeing things differently, doing different stuff, being magical. Who I am. But I went, oh my goodness, nobody's going to take you seriously, Steph. And they're going to be like, what? This kid, unicorn? Ugh, please, so unprofessional. So to overcome that, I called it the Professional Unicorn so that by
Call it
default,
out.
everything
It
I
is
do
a
is professional.
profession. It's very professional unicorn. You know who that reminds me of? Eddie Izzard. He's an executive transvestite, right?
Yep.
Executive, right? I love it. Right? He's an executive transvestite. It's fantastic. Perfect.
I love that. I love Eddie Izzard. He's got his stand-ups are fantastic.
Oh, yes.
Um,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So now, with all of that, what in the world is it ending up that I do? The main thing is getting people to truly be themselves and realizing how does that work in the case of your business. The majority of that it has come down to creating content, especially video content, where just getting a person just on camera to be yourself, snap it in that moment, and not give you a script and go away because you're not an actor, you're a human being. And it's been evolving into more and more of how do we create experiences to get people to just be themselves, to realizing that when it comes to sales, when it comes to networking, all of these things, what we're really trying to get you to do is be yourself and understand that you are enough and you are what's different about your business compared to so many others, which I know you and I are going to get into. But that's the majority of what I do is create the videos with them and then also working more and more for the future of some new experiences to get people out of their shell.
Well, and I think, that focus on content, whether it's written, whether it's your story, whether it's video, in all the different ways, is so important, probably now more than ever, because I don't know about you, but I've become a armchair expert at identifying AI produced content. It didn't take long. I tried it. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. I use the tools. But I think there's an opportunity. I want to get your perspective on this because to me, AI not only is making my life easier, but it's creating a tremendous opportunity for the people who I'll say are brave enough or have done the work to be willing to be massively authentic because the marketplace is noisier, but it's all so homogeneous now that it's actually going to be easier to stand out than ever before.
I'm going to put my thoughts into this from seemingly a roundabout way, but it's all connecting. And it comes down to this is a buzzword version of it, personal brand. But the idea for me, it's the consistency. Because some people will say, oh, that's fine. If I need to be the one that's on video, because that's the first part, right? If it's just an AI generated image, oh, okay, then it'll be me. And then people say, well, we now have AI tools that will just deep fake me for now. It's a relatively easy thing. And you can type in the script and it'll say whatever you want it to say and it'll produce all these things. And what I come back down to is, but you've never practiced saying those things. you're now the way we write and the way we speak, very different.
Oh yeah, I had you'll love this as a videographer. I
Yeah.
once was given the best compliment. I went in studio to do a couple 3-minute videos, right? And the gentleman in charge looked at me and goes, "These are the most well-written scripts that will suck on video that I've ever seen." That's what he said. I took it to heart.
Yeah, that's nice. That's what a generous guy.
I was like, I have to me, I have no problem laughing at that type of criticism. I just think it's like, I know, I get it. You're not telling me something I don't
Right. And exactly that's the point. But even if you get it to that point, the reason I brought up the personal branding is for most people that go, that's all my social media is I just have AI created and it's deep fakes of me. And I'm like, so then by the time that somebody gets on a call with you, it doesn't feel the same way.
No,
It's a
because
different
it's not
feeling.
curated.
Yeah.
100%.
So then the whole piece is then missing. So the authenticity piece of people going out there is that how present is that throughout the entirety of your brand? Because if you're like, no, 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 I'm a real human being, and I look at your website and it just looks like another template, and your face doesn't appear anywhere on your site, and the domain name is johnsmith.com, and I'm going, but where's John Smith? I don't
Right.
understand. Who is he?
It's so true, right? And I think it took me there's a million reasons why this happens, right? And I know because it was probably painful at the time, very humorous looking back at it. Like when I was out of alignment with my brand versus what I wanted.
Mm,
Here's a perfect example I use all the time. When I first had aaronmarcus.com, so trying to create what is now Conquer Your Business, I knew I needed a logo. And I was just going to use my name because I didn't know, I hadn't come up with anything yet. And the woman, for however, $8 she charged me, came up with a blue and gray square with a paisley design and my initials in like capital letters. And you like, there's nothing paisley about me.
no.
Like I come right out of Pretty in Pink era, and there's still nothing paisley about me. Wasn't paisley in 86, ain't paisley now, like
Yeah.
so out of alignment. But that brings me like, why does this happen? I did it because I come out of financial services, I come out of corporate, and I had a very clear picture of what I thought it was supposed to be.
Hmm.
Regardless of me, I thought I had a very strong definition of what a business is supposed to be. I was wrong. It wasn't that.
Well, and it's interesting because if we think about it, and we're gonna get like super deep and like big view all of a sudden, all of your perceptions, because I had the same thing, all of your perceptions were not from a business owner or like a CEO perspective. So your perceptions of what a business should be were from the consumer perspective, sort of, and you were trying to create it from you
Right.
were trying to
From
be
an
a business owner
employee,
from an
right.
employee perspective. So how could
From
you
an
do that?
employee perspective of a corporate environment in financial services.
Hmm.
So no wonder I did a bad job. And I'm a big fan of give yourself a break, but don't let yourself off the hook. Like
Hmm.
I'm real no judgment on all the lack of authenticity and the lack of connecting as a human first, because we're up against neuroscience.
Yeah.
We're up against subconscious programming. So how does somebody tell when they're not getting it? Like it's easy for me to look at your stuff and know if you're getting it or not, right? And people all the time, it's one of the compliments I receive that I just value so much is how this is it. Like the authenticity and the congruency through my brand, through what I say, like I try not to swear on other people's stages, and that's about the most constraint I hold. Right? Everything else is out there. That's rude. I try not to do that. Doesn't always work. But like, so how does somebody start making sure, or how do they tell when they're not?
One of my favorite questions when I have just random, meet and greet one-on-ones or whatever it might be, because it's really interesting to watch people stumble over the question, is what makes you different? And you have to be very unnerving in a way to be, if somebody goes like, well, I just really like taking care of my customers. And I'm
Yeah,
like, are you saying
that
nobody
one.
else does? Is
Well, the
that
other thing about, I come out of working with families with aging parents, and I had a lot of networking partners that were in the home care industry. And that was always their differentiator is we really
Mhm.
care. Like, dude, you're in hospice. You're amazing. You all care. I don't even understand how you care that much. Like, we got it. That's not a differentiator.
Right. And so what it comes down to for me, the only valid answer whenever I ask someone what makes your business different, especially for small business owners that are just like it's you, it's maybe some kind of a team, but you're the main reason, is you have to put some part of you into it. There has to be because in the end they get you, your past, your expertise, your biases, which biases they may be bad, but for other clients they're the perfect fit in that sense. Which brings me to this point, authenticity versus humanity that I harped on for a little while. So I I got my heart crushed by Seth Godin at one point because I very much put my hat onto the idea of, oh, authenticity. You got to be authentic. And I was using that word a lot. And then he said, I think authenticity is a crock. And I went, Seth, no. How could you say that? No. And I was like, wait, let me listen to it.
Like,
But
never
also,
meet your heroes.
right? But I understood what he meant. And so that's why I say authenticity versus humanity. And I like to use Taylor Swift as the example because my wife loves Taylor Swift. So imagine you get a ticket to a Taylor Swift show, you paid three kidneys and a leg, I don't know,
Right.
whatever
How
it
they
costs
cost right
nowadays.
now, yes.
And you go. Taylor comes out on stage and goes, I I've kind of had a bad day. My boyfriend said something mean to me. My throat kind of hurts. I really don't feel like performing today. Thank you. Good night. Leaves. It was authentic. It was 100%
It's highly
authentic.
authentic.
You are not
Got
happy
it.
as a customer.
It's so true.
You are beyond pissed because you got a babysitter, you called off work, you
Right.
don't know. Now, flip side, Taylor comes out on stage, says, I've had a rough day. My boyfriend said something mean to me. My throat hurts, but I'm going to do my best to push through and give you the best show that I can give you right now. It may not be the best show Taylor Swift has ever done, but it's probably going to be the best show that you've gone to because all of a sudden you can connect to Taylor Swift. And I gave this example to an unbeknownst Swiftie, and her immediate reaction was, I would sing my heart out to support her and give her my energy on such a hard day. And
Well,
that's the
and
difference.
truthfully, just continuing with this
Yeah.
example, if you look at her, now that everyone has TikTok, we all see the entire concert in 90-second reels. The level of authenticity that she shares, I swear to God, half the time she puts her clothes on wrong. I don't know if your wife has shared those reels with you. Like, she puts her clothes on wrong as she's doing all these quick changes, and she'll literally be there like, seriously, again, I missed this arm. Like, the sleeves hanging off. Or the other day, the one, she's in Australia, the humidity has killed her, and the way she described it is the humidity has put her hair back to factory settings, right? Like, and I think that is one of the reasons people are so connected to her,
Hmm.
is the humanity in her authenticity. And just, we spend so much time. Now, here's the thing, she's a workhorse and she's a brilliant business person, and there's 90 million reasons why and what she had to go through to get to what she's doing now. But we forget, we're so worried about one thing going wrong. We're holding on so tight that we let go of bringing our connect as a human first, is the way I refer it. Like, we
Hmm.
we don't bring that, because if somebody were to see something they didn't like, we think we would lose it all.
Yeah. Two quick things on that. My quote for this year, it seems that every year throughout January and then up to February, the universe delivers some sort of a quote for the year for me, and it's not somebody else's quote. It never is. It's usually a combination of some things, but it's this some sort of an idea that ends up defining the year for me. Last year was the concepts are few, but the methods are many, meaning that many people will try to sell you methods, but if it's fitting in the main concept, you don't need to buy another method. Just keep on hit the main concept.
Right.
This year has been, let's see how it fails. Just let it go. Let's see how it fails. Learn from it, and it's gonna be okay. To your point, Taylor's music is fantastic. There's a lot that goes into it. There's so much behind the business. There is a lot that goes into it, and
There's a
it's a high
lot. It's a
quality product.
machine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's absolutely
It's
like
a
it's very, very
machine.
true. So I just don't want people to coming away from this thinking that if you have a shitty product and you're just authentic, you're gonna succeed.
Yes,
No.
thank you. That's not how so I call that, what you can't do is what I call woe is me marketing,
Mm,
right? The product behind the brand has to be remarkable, has to be good, it has to be solid. Otherwise, the authenticity almost, the humanity almost, I don't want to say deflects people, but it might not get you the result you want, right? We see that I never understood in the multi-level marketing world where they teach people to go out and say, I'm only 2 sales away from my bonus. Help me get there. Why the
mhm.
hell does anybody care? Right? You're still running a business. Now you want to go call your sister and her best friend and say, dude, I'm only 2 sales away. I need you to buy something. Totally do that. Right? Totally do that. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's different. That's totally fine. But if you're putting this all in terms of a business, the product's got to be there. The quality's got to be there. And then the authenticity and the humanity allow you to reach a bigger audience.
And I think that's the key there is the audience is that the product solves the problem and
Mhm.
that needs to be the base that the product service solves and helps in some sort of a way. The authenticity just makes sure that the audience that reaches you goes, yeah, I connect to this person. This makes me feel safer in getting this thing from them because I also I'm sure you've heard the same thing many times when people go, "Oh no, my business is unique. My problems, oh no, nobody else, no other business has problems like I have problems." No,
You
I
don't.
love you. You don't. It's all the same. It's pretty
We're
much
all
all the
the
same.
same.
And that's where even meeting with like big companies, sometimes bigger companies, like I was trying to figure out a CRM for a while, and I met with 4 or 5 different CRM people, and every single one of them used extremes and absolutes. We have the highest quality. We have the best thing. And it's impossible for all of you to have the best. And when a small
One of
business
you
owner
is
says that,
lying, right?
right,
One
there's
of
probably an asterisk that we can't see, and it says like within a focus group of 100 people that only work at this company that we have.
right, exactly, exactly.
But yeah, so to that point of because somebody will go, but nobody will want to ever buy my software if it's not the best. I'm like, well, if you say that it's the best, if we say CRM, for example, if it's the best CRM or if it's the best thing there, maybe not because there's other options. But if you come in and you say, you know what, I have the absolute best CRM for accountants that love to go fly fishing. My first question is going to be, why did you make
Why?
that?
Why?
And maybe you
So
made it
really
because
a
you're like, well,
marketplace?
I used to be an accountant. I love fly fishing. Okay, your niche is so perfectly you now. You're gonna get them. You know what they need, and perhaps that's exactly what it is. But you put your humanity into all of that.
And the other
Uh,
thing is, just using that best example, because I think that is what we were really talking about is perfectionism.
mm,
If you want to equate that to perfectionism and people who don't go to market because their thing or their talk or whatever it is isn't perfect. It's a lack of authenticity because the truth of the matter is nothing's perfect. That's a shell game. It's a moving target. And I always laugh because the first CRM that I purchased it was called Less Annoying. This was literally the best name product I've ever heard of. It was literally called Less Annoying CRM. It was $10 a month. It had half a bell and a quarter of a whistle. That was it. It was like, and it was exactly what I needed. because everything else was overwhelming to me. I didn't need the bells and whistles. And so for $10 a month, I got the best name product I had ever come across because that CRM was very unannoying because I could actually use it.
Yeah.
They knew their market, right? And if you're waiting for perfectionism, perfectionism is the opposite of humanity. When I first started the podcast, I would worry. I would lock the dog in the bathroom. I would lock the cat up. I would, tell all the neighbors to be quiet. Now, like, all sorts of stuff happens, and we don't even edit it at this point unless like all hell breaks loose because it's the reality of it. It's
Yeah.
the humanity of it. It's connect as a human first. And when I teach sales, I don't care how high level B2B sales you're doing. I come out of corporate where I was putting together million and multi-million dollar deals between banks and broker dealers and insurance companies. And that sounds all big and fancy. But what I was doing was putting relationships together between a VP of long-term care insurance and a VP of sales at a bank. Humans who had jobs to protect, who had reputations to protect.
Yeah.
Every single time. The perfectionism only makes you feel less authentic.
I feel that we don't notice perfectionism in others as much. Like if we had a job meeting where we accidentally smeared muffin on our tie or on our shirt or blouse, we will remember that versus all the other ones that went
Right.
better, fine, but whatever. And who knows, maybe that's the one that you get is where they're like, okay, that's fine. We all smear. It happens.
We've all dropped ketchup at Portillo's from the
Um,
fries on our shirt
I get that a
yesterday.
lot with videos when getting people on video is one of my favorite because we do a lot of batching whenever we record because we'll record the same stuff and so people go, but I'm wearing the same shirt for 10 videos in a row and I'm like, if people are worried about the clothes you're wearing, your content sucks.
Right. I
Like
got
what
over
you're
that.
selling means nothing. Yeah.
I used to do podcasts where and I still chunk them where I do a lot of them on a day. And I would change clothes and I would change jewelry. And then the house would be the house would look like that David's bridal sale that they have once a year, right? It looks like a lunatic went through my closet. And now because now I can focus on just what I'm talking. And there was an evolution, right? There was getting used to it, getting comfortable with it. I honestly think the Zoom world helped many of us with this situation.
Mm.
Right. I don't, you see how I talk. I no longer sit like a robot staring into the camera. I'm allowed to move even though we're on film, even though we're on a camera here and not in person, I'm still allowed to actually move. I don't know that I could sit still if I tried though. But so what do people need to do? How do they, one, see their awareness, but what's some things they can do?
I think because this is a process and not a flipping a switch, the usual thing of like, be you. I love when people say that, but I feel like we've already put so many layers of stuff on ourselves that we don't really know what that even
I
is.
think most people don't know who they are. I mean,
No.
this 100%.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's iterative. I'm coming up on a birthday that's not a normal big number. And I feel like I'm morphing into like there's a different thing going on. I
Hmm.
think it's iterative as you get older, as you get different experiences, as different things happen to you, who you are kind of changes.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I mean, sure, your personality might, whatever the number is,
Right.
6, 7 years old, maybe, but I think a lot of it also, we think about everything we are, and a lot of times we forget about what we're not. And then society bends us into this thing we're not, and we're like, I don't know, I don't feel like myself. So I almost urge, if you can't think of who you are, think of what you're not. Think of what you're just vehemently against.
I'm
And
not
you're just like,
fancy. I'm
and just
so not fancy. So not fancy.
but yeah, like that fantastic. And I think as you express that more of what you don't like, not to make it a negative thing, but then formulating it eventually into what you do like. And as you express that more and more, that uncovers it further and further and further and further. But to your exact point, it changes and it also takes time. This is not something that you're just going to go, that this is me, this is what I like, because it's scary. Because immediately you're saying, if I say something that the general people around me that I've collected over all these years are going to push me away from an evolutionary standpoint, that's scary. I'm pushing out of the tribe. Society
Terrifying.
doesn't like me, whatever it might be. But that's when you get into all the cliches about your friends, right? The true friends are going to be like, yes, there you go. My wife recently said one of the best or worst compliment, kind of like the compliment about the scripts, sort of, where she was like, I finally see you. I haven't seen you in a year. Like you're finally kind of back. I saw a glimpse of you this weekend. And I was like, whoa, what? This is My wife is my best friend. She tells me everything. We don't have this tiptoey
Right.
relationship at all. So for her to say that, I'm going like, my goodness, how have I not been showing up as me in all these other ways whenever I am in business or doing any of those things? And so as you uncover it, then finding how can I slip the things that are truly me and then make it different into the various ways that I do business. So to give some easy examples, I play music during my Zoom calls. So, because Zoom allows you to just share sound. So I'll put on little instrumental music. It's usually kind of magic-y and it's all the way like back in there. My calendar, the first question is, what's your big dream? I want to know about the person's big dream and all those kinds of things. One person has ever commented on this, but whenever I introduce or connect people or anything like that, I ended with, and let's see what magic may follow. And one person went, that's so on brand for you. Because I'm like, yeah, because I want business to be a little bit more magical, a little bit more fun. But as you develop these little things that give you a little bit of joy, you realize that's what's from the beginning of a conversation, forming that personal brand where people go, yeah, but this person does stuff differently. Like when you meet Aaron, you're going to remember Aaron.
I have a friend. I have one friend who's a life coach, and she is a soft place to land. I am not a soft place to land. And we have a mutual friend who says she wants Erin to move, she wants me to motivate her in the morning, and she wants Tammy to read her a bedtime story at night. Right? It's so on brand, right? It's for both Tammy and myself, like that different. And here's the thing, Tammy and I agree on 99.9% of our views of the world, and you couldn't be more different.
Mm,
Right. And I think kind of like what your wife said to you, there's just a huge, I think one of the things that we miss in this world is being witnessed, authentically witnessed. Like, and I've been lucky enough to be in certain mastermind groups and stuff where you're truly witnessing other people's growth, their ambition. Like there's something about that. And so when someone comes to me with a compliment, one of the things I get a lot that at first I was a little offended by, like, wow, they think I'm mean, but then I'm like, well, no, that's not what they're saying.
mm,
Is I want to talk to you because I know you'll tell me the truth.
yeah.
And right. And at first I kind of was like, oh wow, they must think I'm really brash. I mean, none of those things were false, by the way. It's not like it wasn't like I thought they were wrong. I was like, ugh. But now it's all part of it. I will not blow smoke up someone's skirt. I will not tell them they'll make $1 million if their idea is barely a $20 idea. I'm not going to tell
Mm.
them just do this one thing and it'll be easy, because that's not how business works. And so I think if you can, kind of to your point, if you just put little pieces out there and you get that positive feedback, it ends up encouraging you to do more.
We're gonna learn, everybody. We're gonna learn a little bit about our host. Let's see. Let's see.
Uh-oh.
I want to know. I'm curious about your answer to this,
Okay.
since you're so brash.
Is that a word? Did I make that up?
I, I think I know what it means. Do you feel like you're enough?
Sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes.
And I think that's a beautiful answer. Also, just because so many people may look at what you've accomplished and what you've done and be like, "Of course she's enough. Look at all the success and look at all these things." And I think the reality is, that's the truth. Is sometimes for
Sometimes.
all of us, it's sometimes. None of us is it all the time. I feel it's a constant thing.
And I think it's in certain categories.
Hmm.
And my approach to a lot of self-improvement, all that stuff is I just build on your wins. Borrow the energy, right? So if I've got, yes, I'm enough in this category, can I borrow that over here and work on this category? And I also I think it ebbs and flows with what's going on in your life. And so here's a question, here's something that popped in my head. You want to talk about pure authenticity? We can discuss whether or not it's a good idea. Going just in coincidences, the woo-woo festival I went to last week, books I'm reading, all this stuff, and I do work on this pretty regularly. For the first time, I've always stood pretty solidly in who I am. My personality is pretty dialed in. Like I've been for a very long time very okay with my personality. Like what is the comment? Being too much in real life makes me just enough for the internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I'm too much for some people. I am totally fine with that. That's been okay for a long time. But something the other day in a book I was reading made this question pop into my mind. Do I know who I am? Or am I this person because I was forced to be this person? And what's the difference? And I think the more you can just answer those questions, there's no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer. I think the more you can do that reflection and ask yourself those types of questions. And today I feel like I know this is who I am. And the next day it might be, you know what? This popped up. Okay, I'm responding this way because of that thing. And maybe that's not who I want. I think we have a lot more control over who we want to be than we exude.
The only thing that I will say, I agree that there is not a right or wrong answer, but I think there is an honest or not answer.
Yes.
And that's the metric to go by in that,
100%.
because we lie truly the most probably to ourselves.
Oh, 100%. I said the hardest conversation you'll ever have is an honest conversation with yourself. Right? Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing I love about, it's part of the entry fee, right? It's part of the entry fee into the small business world. The fact that we are in control of so much of our lives is that your business will never grow beyond you.
Mm.
And they say it about money. I'm curious what you think they say, how it applies to authenticity and humanity. If you want to know how you feel about money, look around yourself. How much of it do you have? And I think there's a step further. If you want to know what you think about yourself, look around about how you feel about money is how you feel about yourself.
Yeah. I or anything. I think money is a good one because of the amount of pressure society puts on us, but anything.
Yeah.
Um, how do you feel about how other people judge you? Are you the type of person that will say, yeah, 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 I will donate 10 hours of my time. You don't even have to pay me. They should pay you. Like, I mean, unless you're like, if there's some crazy reason, the majority of the time, oh yeah, let's just do that let's collaborate. That no, like
Ugh.
that's you're saying you don't value yourself, because wouldn't it be much easier to just say no? We do it because we think of opportunity. Oh, but it may open up a thing. It almost never does. And so you would have been better just watching some more Netflix and relaxing because equal
Now you're
amount of
back.
payoff.
My God. And the brutal truth bomb about that whole thing that I learned, resentment, which is what comes out of saying yes to those situations.
Mhm.
Resentment is always a lack of personal responsibility. If you find, I mean, that's another good place are you being authentic? Well, are you resentful of the things that you, quote, have to do? Then you probably weren't authentic in what you wanted to be doing.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's no separation in small business and entrepreneurship between this and your business. There's no mask, right? It works in corporate. You can go to your job, you can put your mask on, you can perform according to their rules. But our businesses as entrepreneurs are so tied to us. I don't think the separation is as possible as it is in a job.
I think with AI, we're getting to the point where just because newer and newer and different types of businesses are able to be created, that can get you separated from it. But in the long term, if you listen to any of the big companies or anything, any of the biographies, movies, whatever you want to watch and take in as content, the vast majority of the time, it all came down to culture. It all came down to the mission and vision wasn't what it needed to be. We changed the mission and vision. We focused it on this, this, this. It aligned with people. That's how it worked out. So it comes back down to it. I want to circle back to something that's been interesting for me. I wanted to create a whole slew of videos about it last year. Is this idea of cliches? You said your business but will never grow past you or will never outgrow you. And I found that there are two cliches, basically, two ways to every cliche. There's when you hear it, its meaning, and when you live it and its meaning. And once you live it, the meaning is different, but the words are the same. You're like, yeah, that's the best way to say it. But also, you don't get it until you've lived it. Like I can't explain it to you, but that is the way to, and you're
It's
you're cut.
right. And the way that I think about stuff like that is I understand it. And I said this to the COO yesterday because she was talking about like it doesn't even have to be in personal development or anything like that. This was about processes and I don't even remember. I can't even come up with what we were talking about. But what I said to her, there's a difference between academically, I get it, and I'm embodying it. Those are
Mm.
the two different levels, right? That you're describing. Academically, yeah, I understand what, but do I embody it? And so I forgot what we were talking about yesterday, but we decided she was going to be the one to have to take care of the problem because while I understood the definitions of the words she was using, I didn't actually understand anything. I'm like, taken individually, I understand the definitions of the words that you're using, but when you put them like that together, I don't know what you're talking about. So why don't we just go with, yes, you can work on that and let me know how it goes, right? The difference between an academic, I can parrot back to you,
Hmm.
and an embodiment of it's a habit, it's a default, it's a now I just think that way.
Yeah. To bring it all together into an interesting, because you asked me something that people could use, that I'm hearing both of us kind of saying this. I think one of the best first steps is learning to truly say no. And I actually made a post about this today of how do people say no. And it's very interesting how many caveats people give because we say no and give an excuse as if we're not
Right.
allowed to just say no. If somebody invites us to an event, like we're not allowed to just go, no, I don't want to. That's a it's a valid, and the closer you can get to just straight up being no and not feeling that you have to justify why and put all these barriers around it, why, yeah, I think that's going to get you the closest to the authenticity. That's going to get you closer to the actual personal development as opposed to feeling like I have to outgrow this. That boundary of truly learning how to say no can be so powerful. And it only takes two letters.
If only it were that easy. Right? You make it sound so easy when you say, I 100% agree. I think that is, if you do nothing else but practice saying no for the next 30 days to the things you don't want to do, like life changing.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Well, let's leave it there because I think that is a fantastic piece of advice that I've never actually talked about on the show in all these years. So well done, you. If people want to continue this conversation and learn more about how unicorns do business, what is the best way to get a hold of you?
StefanZavalin.com and Stefan Zavalin on all the social medias. Find me on LinkedIn as well.
We'll have
Yep.
all the show notes and the links in the show notes. So you're just one click away from everybody. Thank you for hanging out with me today. You're awesome. I love our conversations.
I know.
We could just keep going.
Yeah, it was a
With who
blast.
else? And we'll
When
find
you get
other
to
ways.
laugh on a podcast, how much more do you want from life?
Especially at myself. I mean, hey, what people don't understand is most of what I do is to amuse myself, right? Like this is how this works at this point. So
And now you understand my show as well. Good. Yes.
exactly. And why we get along. So thank you again for your time, your energy, your effort, your input, all of the things. Thank you.
My pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Ready Yet podcast. I truly enjoy bringing these stories of success and inspiration to you. Please join us in our mission to empower entrepreneurs to be in charge of their businesses and in charge of their lives by sharing this with anyone you know who would benefit from our tactical and motivating advice, leaving us a review, and letting us know if there are any particular topics you would really appreciate hearing about. See you next time.